What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Dude Hines Show. Today is May 19th, 2021. This video, I'm going to be doing some NFC West draft grades. I've not done a video for a couple of days, not been feeling good. Was doing my last video of the AFC West draft grades, and this will be the NFC West. The NFC West consists of the Los Angeles Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals. So we'll go ahead and get started here. The first team up is the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams actually did not have a first-round pick due to the Jalen Ramsey trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but with their second-round pick, they took Louisville wide receiver Tutu Atwell. This pick is, in my opinion, just beyond horrible. That's a nice way to put it. Tutu Atwell, there was one time his measurables were 5'9", 149. That is way, way too small to be playing in the NFL. He would not last 1 year in the AFC North in the hard-hitting players in the AFC North. But this pick just does not make any sense at all. With Tutu Atwell's measurables, at the NFL draft, his last measurables before the draft, it was around 5'9", 149. I expected him to be in the 4th or 5th round. And to him being drafted in the second round is beyond ridiculous, in my opinion. This was definitely, in my opinion, one of the worst picks in the entire draft. One of the biggest reaches. Does not make any sense. I know Sean McVay is an offensive guru, and having Matthew Stafford with a trade with the Detroit Lions in the offseason, you have Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, probably the most underrated wide receiver duo in the NFL. But Tutu Atwell here, Tylan Wallace was available. Amari Rodgers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all three of those wide receivers are all much better than Tutu Atwell here at 57th overall. I definitely think the Rams could have got a much better pick here than getting Tutu Atwell at 57th overall in the second round. With the Rams' third-round pick, they took South Carolina linebacker Ernest Jones. This is another reach for the Rams. There was lots of picks here for the Rams I just did not like at all. I thought the majority of their picks were just plain out reaches and not good picks. This is another pick I was not really a fan of. Jabril Cox, the linebacker from LSU, who should have been drafted in the second round, was available. Also, Ohio State linebacker Baron Browning was here. He should not have been available. He actually went to the Broncos. Just 2 picks later at the end of the third round selection. I did not like this pickup here at all by the Rams. I thought, if you're going to go linebacker, which is not a desperately need, at least get the best linebacker available, and Jabril Cox or Baron Browning. That is not at all what they did here in round 3. As we continue here with their next pick, they actually take Bobby Brown, the defensive tackle from Texas A&M, with the 117th pick overall. I did not dislike this pick. This pick and their pick after this were probably my 2 favorite picks for the Rams draft. They traded their starting defensive tackle to the Lions to create some cap space. I thought Bobby Brown was one of the best defensive tackles here available. I was honestly quite surprised they did not take Jalen Twyman, the defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. He was definitely my favorite defensive tackle here at 117th pick overall. But Bobby Brown, to me, was a pretty solid pickup here for the Rams. It was a team need. He was a really good player here. Definitely one of the better players available. And this was only the few picks of the Rams actually had a nice pick here in the draft, in my opinion. With the 130th pick overall in the draft, they take Central Arkansas cornerback Robert Rochelle. Robert Rochelle and Troy Williams. If you watch some of my draft videos, doing some round mock drafts for each NFL team, Troy Williams and Robert Rochelle were my 2 corners who I thought were extremely underrated. They're my favorite late round sleepers at the corner position. Robert Rochelle, if you watch the Central Arkansas against North Dakota State game, you'll notice Trey Lance, who ended up being the 3rd pick overall in the draft, him throwing the ball. You'll notice Robert Rochelle in the secondary for the Central Arkansas defense, who was actually invited to the Senior Bowl. Very, very impressive player. I thought the Rams, some people may think this is a little bit of a reach, considering where he played college at. I think this was a fantastic pick here for the Rams, getting some more depth in the secondary. The Rams actually had another 4th-round pick, and with their final 4th-round pick, they took UCF wide receiver Jacob Harris. In my opinion, did not like this pick at all. You can make a case that Jacob Harris was not even a top 2 wide receiver for his own team here at the 141st pick overall, with Trey Nixon, the wide receiver from the UCF Knights, and also Marlon Williams as well. I thought those players were both better than Jacob Harris, the teammates within the UCF Knights. There was much better talent at wide receiver available. I thought this was another reach here for the Rams. I definitely think they could have got a much better, valuable pick here in the 4th round. To continue here into the 5th round, they take another reach, in my opinion, take a Northwestern edge rusher, Ernest Brown. I did not think Ernest Brown was a top 3 edge rusher available. This edge rushing class is one of the best in a very long time. I really liked Teron Jackson from Coastal Carolina here. I thought he was a major sleeper. There were some other sleepers as well I liked quite a bit. I thought Ernest Brown here was a little bit of the reach for the Rams. If you're going to go reaching at a certain position, at least take best player available at that position. And that is not at all what the Rams did here in the 5th round. The LA Rams actually had 3 7th-round picks. And I always hate the idea when teams choose to not trade some of those late-round picks for a package deal to trade up in the draft, because there's a 0% chance these 3 7th-round picks are all going to make the team. I would be surprised that 2 make the team. It's not often 7th-round picks make the team. If you have 3 7th-round picks on one team, 0% chance all 3 of those players end up making the team. But with their first 7th-round pick, they take Maryland running back Jake Funk. Getting some more depth here at running back was not a bad idea. I really liked Javian Hawkins from Louisville here. I thought that would have been a perfect fit for Sean McVay's offense. Javian Hawkins, to me, the running back from Louisville, I thought would have been a much better fit here than Jake Funk from Maryland. But it's just kind of another pick. In my opinion, the Rams kind of took a reach. It's always not good at all to take a reach in the 7th round. In my opinion, in the 6th, 7th rounds, you always take best player available, because if you're taking a team need in the 7th round, it's very unlikely that those players are actually going to end up making your team. With the Rams' 2nd 7th-round pick, they take Notre Dame wide receiver Ben Skowronek. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that name wrong, but there was much better wide receivers here available. Jonathan Abrams Jr. from Arkansas State, Trey Walker from San Jose State, Marlon Williams from UCF. This wide receiver class was absolutely loaded, and I was very surprised that they took Ben Skowronek here with a 249th pick overall. Trevon Grimes from Florida, I thought he would have been a very nice pick for the Rams here, especially with Sean McVay's offense. This was another reach for the LA Rams here in the 7th, and it closes off. The Rams take another reach with their final pick of the draft, 252nd overall. They take Concordia St. Paul edge rusher Chris Garrett. I'm pretty sure not many teams are going to be trying to trade up or get a Concordia St. Paul edge rusher in the 7th round. There were so many better players here available. The Rams could use some help at defensive tackle. Like I said, they're trading one of their starting defensive tackles to the Lions in the offseason. There was great receivers available. There was still some nice players in the secondary available here, like Trill Williams, the corner from Syracuse, like I mentioned earlier. This was a reach here. They definitely could have got Chris Garrett as an undrafted free agent. Drafted one of those guys, like I mentioned. I thought that would have been a much better idea. Maybe even Quentin Morris, the tight end from Bowling Green, that lost Joe Everett in the offseason to the Seattle Seahawks. This was a massive reach here, in my opinion. I know it's in the 7th round, but there were so many better players available here with a 252nd pick overall. There was lots of players here, in my opinion, who should have been drafted much higher, but actually ended up being not drafted at all. So overall, for the LA Rams draft grade, I ended up giving them a C-. It's one of my lowest draft grades yet for a team. The only picks I liked at all for the LA Rams were Bobby Brown, the defensive tackle from Texas A&M, and Central Arkansas cornerback Robert Rochelle. Aside from those picks, I did not like any picks here at all for the LA Rams. I definitely think they had one of the worst drafts in the entire NFL. Next up is the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks had the least amount of picks for any team in the NFL draft. They only had 3 selections. I was very surprised they did not trade back to get more picks, but they only ended up with 3 picks here. So with their first pick in the 2nd round, they take Western Michigan wide receiver Dwayne Eskridge. This was a nice pickup. The Seattle Seahawks opt to go not team need, not for reach, and instead they go best player available, getting DK Metcalf, one of the best receivers in the NFL, Tyler Lockett, and Dwayne Eskridge. That's some great targets for Russell Wilson to throw to. In the offseason, Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson was very vocal about he wants an improved offensive line. They had a few additions in free agency, getting some help in the interior offensive line, but they choose not to go O-line here. Instead, they get Dwayne Eskridge, the wide receiver from Western Michigan. Seattle Seahawks actually did not have a third-round pick, but with their fourth-round pick selection, they take Oklahoma cornerback Trey Brown. I think this was a solid pickup. Trey Brown had a ton of interceptions during his time with the Oklahoma Sooners. Getting some more corner help here is not a bad idea. He was one of the best players here available. I don't think it's a bad pickup here for the Seahawks, but, with only having 3 picks in the entire NFL draft, you have a second, a fourth, and a sixth. You're really hoping and getting a good offensive lineman in the sixth, and very rarely does it actually end up happening. But the Seahawks actually kind of got lucky here. In the sixth round, they took Florida offensive tackle Stone Forsythe. He was definitely the best offensive tackle here available. And I would not be shocked at all if he came in and maybe actually started this season for the Seattle Seahawks. And it's not something you hear often. A sixth-round pick, offensive tackle, possibly starting at some point during this season. I think this is a great value pick here for the Seahawks. They really, really got lucky getting a great tackle here in the sixth round. Despite the Seattle Seahawks not having a bad draft, getting Dwayne Eskridge, which was a nice pick in the second, Trey Brown, a solid corner from Oklahoma in the fourth, and getting a steal in Florida offense tackle Stone Forsythe in the sixth round, I actually gave the Seattle Seahawks a draft grade of a B-. I know it sounds weird, I really praised all those picks. They really had a solid draft, but it was the fact they only had 3 draft picks. Giving a B-, they did not have a bad draft by any means, but, having some more draft picks here, I really think would have helped the Seattle Seahawks in the future, and definitely would have helped their draft grade, in my opinion. Despite only having 3 draft picks, the Seattle Seahawks had a really, really nice draft. Next up is the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, unlike the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, actually had a first-round pick. And with their first-round pick, they kind of surprised quite a few people. They took Tulsa linebacker Zaven Collins with his 16th pick overall. Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football talked about a couple days before the draft that this pick was probably going to happen. Was very surprised that Zaven Collins went before Jeremiah Wasu-Koroa and Jamin Davis from Kentucky. This was a really, really reach here, in my opinion, for the Arizona Cardinals. I know it's one thing to try to get your linebacker of the future, but I really think they could have maybe traded back a little bit, got some draft capital in return, and still got Zaven Collins maybe in the early 20s or mid-20s. But this was a very interesting pick here for the Cardinals. I don't think it's a horrible pick, but I don't think it's a great pick. I think it's a solid pick up here by Arizona. And then the second round, they took a wide receiver. They took Purdue wide receiver Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore, kind of dropped in the draft a little bit due to his size. The Arizona Cardinals have a really nice wide receiver core. DeAndre Hopkins, getting Rondale Moore, getting AJ Green in free agency, Christian Kirk. There's some really nice young receivers in Arizona. I think getting Rondale Moore in the second could, give Kyler Murray some more weapons. Because AJ Green's not going to play much longer, maybe a year or two. Rondale Moore here, I think, was a steal here by the Arizona Cardinals with the 49th pick overall. They did not have a third-round pick, but with their fourth-round pick, they took Florida cornerback Marco Wilson. This pick kind of surprised me quite a bit. I did not think Marco Wilson was actually going to be drafted. Looking at PFF and Pro Football Network and all of their simulators, Marco Wilson was around the 250 to 300 power ranking range. Very surprised at this pick here. This was way too early, in my opinion. They did lose Patrick Peterson in free agency, going to the Minnesota Vikings on a 1-year deal. And, I was kind of surprised they did not go corner earlier. If you're going to take a position need and a team need, at least have it be the best corner available at that position. That's not at all what the Arizona Cardinals did by taking Marco Wilson in the fourth. They did not have a fifth-round pick, but with their sixth-round pick, they took Duke edge rusher Victor Demukichi. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that name wrong, but I thought this was a great pickup here. This was a phenomenal value pick. He was one of the most underrated edge rushers in the draft. Him and his teammate Chris Rumph. Chris Rumph was actually drafted a lot earlier than some people expected. Getting some more help off the edge was a really nice idea for Arizona. Chandler Jones is coming off that season in the injury. You get TJ Watt in free agency. He's very injury prone. Getting some depth here in the sixth, I think it's a great idea by the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals actually had two sixth-round picks, and with their second sixth-round pick, they took UCF cornerback Tay Gowan. I thought this was a tremendous value pick here. One of the better steals in the secondary throughout the draft. Like I said, losing Patrick Peterson in free agency, they could really use some more cornerback depth. Fourth, Marco Wilson in the sixth. Just swap these two players where they were picked. I do not think that would be bad at all. Looking at that standpoint, Dillon was an absolute steal here in the sixth. I think he's going to be a nice solid piece for the Arizona Cardinals secondary. I think this is one of the more underrated picks in the entire NFL draft. The Arizona Cardinals had two seventh-round picks, and with their first seventh-round pick, they take Cincinnati safety James Wiggins. I really, really like this pick. James Wiggins was one of my favorite safeties in the draft. I was really surprised he fell this late, dropping to 243rd overall. I thought he was a fourth or fifth round pick. Getting James Wiggins here is a steal. Definitely the best safety available. Probably the best player available. In general, getting some more depth in the secondary is not a bad idea for the Arizona Cardinals. Have Budda Baker, one of the best safeties in the NFL. Get some more depth with James Wiggins. I love this pick here by the Arizona Cardinals, getting James Wiggins here in the seventh round. With their second seventh round pick and their final pick of the 2021 NFL Draft, Arizona Cardinals took Penn State center Michael Menet. I don't really think it's a good pick here. I thought there was much better players available. Maybe take another wide receiver, maybe like Trey Walker, some of those guys like I mentioned. Trevon Grimes from Florida, Quentin Morris, a tight end from Bowling Green, Matt Bushman, the tight end from BYU. I thought there was a lot of better skill position players here available. I know they need some help in the offensive line, but I don't think getting a center here in the seventh round really amounts to nothing for the Arizona Cardinals interior offensive line. But I didn't really like this pick here. I thought the Arizona Cardinals could have got a much better player here for the 247th pick overall. Overall, I thought the Arizona Cardinals had a pretty solid draft, but overall draft grade for them was a B. They had some really nice picks and they had some not so great picks, but overall, I think the Cardinals had a pretty solid draft. The final team here in the NFC West draft grades is of the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers had the third pick overall with that massive trade up with the Miami Dolphins. I honestly thought the San Francisco 49ers were going to take Matt Jones, the quarterback from Alabama, but instead they take North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance. Despite thinking that they were going to take Jones, I thought the best option here was taking Trey Lance. Trey Lance, out of all the five quarterbacks, in my opinion, is probably the least amount of pro ready between Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Lance himself. I think sitting behind Garoppolo maybe for half a year or so and then taking the starting role over Garoppolo would be a smart idea here for the 49ers. I think, if Lance could just play average, I think this 49ers team is going to be absolutely great. He has so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball and has a tremendous defense. The 49ers actually were in playoff contention last season, despite Garoppolo being hurt, Bosa being hurt, so many other players as well. But I think this is a best-case scenario here for the 49ers taking Trey Lance at third overall. In the second round, the 49ers take a massive reach, in my opinion, taking Notre Dame offensive guard Aaron Banks. I thought Wyatt Davis, the guard from Ohio State, would have been a perfect pick here if you're going to go interior offensive line. Banks, on lots of people's big boards, it was a mid-third, early fourth. I was very surprised the 49ers took him here this early. They had some offensive line issues last season, but I think this was a really, really big reach here. I'm not really a big fan of this pick here at all by the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers actually had two third-round picks, and with their first third-round pick, they took Ohio State running back Trey Sermon. This was kind of a surprise, in my opinion, to not think they were going to attack the running back position this early. Trey Sermon was the best running back here available. This is a nice value pick here. This is definitely, one of the situations where they do not take a team need. Instead, they take a best player available. I think Trey Sermon, maybe in a year or so, will be a big part of the San Francisco 49ers offense. Like I mentioned, they had two third-round picks, and with their second third-round pick, they take Ambry Thomas, the Michigan corner. I absolutely love this pick here. Ambry Thomas did not play this past season due to the coronavirus, but in 2019, according to PFF, he had their highest grade for a corner in 2019. That includes, Jeffrey Okudah, who was the third pick overall last season, from the Ohio State Buckeyes, the corner who went to the Detroit Lions. Ambry Thomas here, I think, is a potential replacement for Richard Sherman. Sherman is a free agent, and it's unlikely that he will return to San Francisco. I think getting Ambry Thomas here with the 102nd pick overall was a great pickup here by the 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers actually had 3 fifth-round picks, and with their first fifth-round pick, they took Western Michigan guard Jalen Moore. I like this pick quite a bit here. Jalen Moore can play guard and tackle. He's very versatile on the offensive line. Like I mentioned, the offensive line last season was kind of shaky. Getting some more offensive line depth here was not a bad idea, especially because I think Jalen Moore was definitely one of the best offensive linemen here with the 155th pick overall. With their second fifth-round pick, they take corner, I know I pronounced this name wrong, Deommodore Lenoir. This was a solid pickup, getting some more corner help. One of the better corners here available at the 172nd pick overall. Not a bad pickup here by the 49ers, getting some more depth at the corner position, which they could really use after the likely departure of Richard Sherman. And with their final fifth-round pick, they take USC safety Talanoa Hufanga. I know I pronounced that name wrong as well. Getting some safety help here at the 180th pick overall is not a bad idea. He was the best safety here available. Along with James Wiggins from Cincinnati. I thought this was a pretty solid pickup here for the 49ers, getting some more safety help at the 180th pick overall. And when the final pick of the NFL draft had 1 sixth-round pick, and that actually was their final pick. And with that selection, they took Louisiana running back Elijah Mitchell. Taking Trey Sermon here in the 3rd round and then taking Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round was kind of surprising to some people, including myself. But I absolutely love this pick here, getting Elijah Mitchell with the 194th pick overall. Being a big Bengals fan, I was really hoping the Bengals would take Elijah Mitchell. He was one of my favorite running backs in the entire draft. I think Elijah Mitchell has a chance to be one of the biggest steals in the entire NFL draft. I think 49ers got a steal here in Elijah Mitchell. You look at the stats, they're just absolutely ridiculous. He really split carries during the majority of his career with Louisiana running back Trey Regis as well. He's explosive. This is a tremendous value pick here for the San Francisco 49ers. My overall draft grade for the San Francisco 49ers was a grade A. They had some nice picks like Ambry Thomas, Trey Lance, Elijah Mitchell, and some other ones as well. But getting Trey Lance over Matt Jones at number 3 is part of the reason why I have their grade so high. I was really a big fan of the San Francisco 49ers draft. And I would not be surprised at all, after this draft, to see the 49ers possibly in Super Bowl contention in this upcoming NFL season. So that was my NFC West draft grades video to kind of recap the NFC draft grades here. The Los Angeles Rams had a C-. Despite the Seattle Seahawks having only 3 draft picks, they had a solid draft in getting a B-. The Arizona Cardinals had a draft grade of a B, and the San Francisco 49ers ended the draft with a grade A. I thought the NFC West was a very intriguing division heading into the free agency in the draft, and I think it's even more intriguing now as we head into OTAs and rookie camps and everything like that. I really think the NFC West is the best division in the NFL right now, and it's not even particularly close. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you next time on the Sports Dude Hein Show.